And so now let's go in to look at the indices for the day. So actually, thank you very much. I might actually highlight which sector we're talking about, like which asset class we're talking about when we're talking through all these indices and stuff. So actually, thank you very much. I might actually highlight which sector we're talking about, like which asset class we're talking about when we're talking through all these indices and stuff. So okay, first up, let's look at the bond section, which is the government issued bonds. We're looking at the US10-year yield as an indicator of what the Treasury is thinking would be the yield, and this goes up and down based on how many investors want the government bond. So it's really also a combined indicator of investor sentiment. And what we see between yesterday and, because we're in Australia, we kind of go in half day through the US time, and then we go through the next half day sort of thing. Bear with me, hey. So as you can see, the market was at about 2.74% before on Memorial Day, which there was no trading. So it was a flat line there. And this morning or start of the US day, it suddenly jumped up to 2.85, and that is really crazy considering how it was. But in the short-term time frames, this is a huge jump. Like, none of these jumps before have been so much or in one open. This tells me that there's a lot of volatility going on right now in the economy in total. In every sector, there's a lot of concern going on, and sure enough, what we see in the CNBC headline news on the bond section is that US Treasury yields is climbing as investors weigh inflation and global economy grow. Previously, we said that if this number here, 2.85, or if you want to start from 2.74, doesn't matter. If the bond yield goes up for the US 10-year Treasury, that means that there is less and less demand for the US 10-year Treasury, which means investors are taking money out of the debt, the government debt market, and putting it into the stock market, which is the other part of the economy, as we were seeing before, more in towards the private sector rather than the government sector. But today, when we're seeing the 2.74 jump to 2.85, it's not really necessarily because investors are pouring in to buy bonds because bonds are more worth it in terms of the interest that they provide compared to other asset classes, but it's just because they thought that 2.74 was too low. Investors want higher returns. They think that they should be paid at least 2.85%. That's the way that it is. So this is basically a protest going, hey, government, can't you see that there's inflation going on? A lot of it too. We want more bang for our buck here. We want more interest for us lending our money to you. Switching over to the other sectors, let's look at the US market with the stock market, which is really a lot of the private sector. They're all red almost across the board. With the Dow giving back 222 points after gaining about 500-600 recently. Looking at the Dow Jones here, I added a lot of indicators between yesterday and today. Something crazy happened. Can you see this little black outline here, this little triangle that it formed? Usually the top and the bottom of this black lines, the Bollinger Bands, and basically it's a standard deviation, and then the middle black line is the average. Basically, if investors are happily trading, then you wouldn't see too much volatility in the market, but when this goes really crazy, and then with this huge standard deviation, you can see there was a war almost going on between the people who want the markets to go up and the people who are really fearing and think that the markets would probably go down. So a lot of people are trying to bid it up. That's why this went all the way up there, and then a lot of people think that it's going to go much lower. So it went down. So it's really crazy what is happening. I don't know the last time that we've ever seen something like this. This tells me that there's extreme volatility going on and a lot of fear too, okay? So if we look at the fear and greed index that the CNN has put together for us, right now it's saying that investors are not only in fear, they're in extreme fear. Basically, what's driving it today, not only in the US, but they've heard news that in the Eurozone, inflation hit 8.1% in May. This is crazy, isn't it? So much for the 5% that the Austrian government was saying the CPI was. Well, in the Eurozone, it's 8.1%. This is on top of yesterday. They heard that in China, the market was going down and retail sales was plummeting because of all the lockdowns, or so they blame it. But we know that the problem has been going on since a long time ago, since 2020. It's a long time thing that I suppose it's eventuating now, that you can really see its impact given so much time, because anything that could have been band-aided up cannot be band-aided up anymore after 2 years. The investors, yesterday they were happily trading, but until this news came out and they go, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. So this is probably why the US 10-year yield also went up so quickly overnight. The ASX in Australia, it closed down 1.03% compared to the day before. But we have to recognize that it was going up and rallying quite happily. Right now we're seeing a pullback. It's probably really driven by the US as well, and really just understanding the fact that inflation has definitely hit us. I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, today, I would say, based on the sentiment of the market being in extreme fear already, unless we see some good news coming out of Australian news, perhaps the ASX is probably going to reflect the fear there's currently in the market, and there will be a lot of volatility happening. Onto Bitcoin. Bitcoin has seen a pump, as we know, the day before. And what has it been doing since? It's been sort of trading sideways again, up and down this new range at about 31.7k, and the low is about 31.4. So quite a narrow range. And then it tries to pump higher, but we've seen a lot of resistance and it's now pulled back. So I would probably expect to see a bit more sideways. It really depends on what happens in the stock market today. I don't know if that extreme fear is going to drive stock prices down even lower, and if that's the case, we would probably expect Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of crypto to really function like a tech stock. They probably go down together with that. But yeah, just recognize right now that there's a lot of volatility in the market. Gold is under some pressure. Once again, because basically investors took money that they had in gold, they sold the gold and they put it in the US Treasury bonds, thinking that, oh wow, gold doesn't pay me any dividends, but the US bonds do, and the bond yields just went up. To me, it's just a false peace, false calm. Investors probably just went there for the yield. They don't understand what's driving up the US bonds, the 10-year bond, is because of inflation. And really, in inflationary times, you probably want to keep gold because it's a hedge against that. I think there's a lot of people being irrational here, and markets being in extreme fear on top of the Eurozone 8% inflation that's causing a lot of people to panic and fear. In the midst of all this panic and fear, I actually read this in my Devo this morning. I just wanted to share a passage with you. I'm actually reading 1 Peter 5. This is the complete Jewish Bible. This is the version that I really love to use because it speaks to my heart. 1 Peter 5 verse 6. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, so that at the right time he may lift you up. Throw all your anxieties upon him, because he cares about you. When I heard this bit, because he cares about you, I almost cried. You don't realize he really cares about you. Is Yeshua? Stay sober. Stay alert. Your enemy, the adversary, stalks about like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Well, basically, stand against him, firm in your trust. Firm in your trust. Let me repeat that again. Knowing that your brothers throughout the world are going through the same kinds of suffering, you're not alone. You're not alone. You will have to suffer only a little while. Only a little while. After that, God, who is full of grace, the one who called you to his eternal glory in union with the Messiah, will himself restore, establish, and strengthen you and make you firm. To him be the power forever and ever. Amen. The Messiah will himself restore, establish, and strengthen you. That reminds me of the prodigal son. When he came back, he lost everything he had in the world. And when he came back to the father restored him, put a robe on him, gave him a signet ring, and said, "You're my son, you're my people, you're my citizen, you're my friends and my brothers and my family, my community." And in all of this suffering, even though we're seeing the stock market plummet again because of extreme fear, we're seeing inflation at 8%, and I just told you yesterday that there will be more inflation to come, especially in the Australian market also, especially in insurance prices. You only have to suffer a little while, and it highlights here how long is a little while. A little while is compared to eternity. Unless today you and I realize that we cannot die, like this existence that we have here actually is something that lasts forever. And unless you see through that long term, like the US 10-year yield, you have to see long term. Unless you're seeing yourself like a long bond, like you will just be so fluctuating and volatility, like the bands, like the little triangle in the Bollinger Band there. You're going up all the way and down all the way, up and down like a roller coaster ride, but worse. Let's not be roller coasters. Let's stay firm. It says here, stay firm. Stand against the devil. Firm in your trust of God, knowing that he restores you and establishes you. Even better, he plants you on firm, solid rock that Yeshua is. And this eternal inheritance, even if you lost everything you own today in the stock market, even if your gold or your Bitcoin lost money, he establishes you and gives you an identity that is your worth. And all you have to do is wait for him to do that. And this is the call for the saints to be patient and endurance, knowing that our brothers worldwide are suffering with us. Moving on to headline news. And there's a lot to cover. I don't have time today to really talk about a lot, but hopefully I can show you a few things that are really quite important. Yesterday, we talked about the Davos Switzerland, the World Economic Forum, and I started to explain to you how the global elites, the social leaders, of whom you can see a little picture here, so these are who they are. They have a face to them. These global leaders, they want to run and ruin your life. They are in something called the Great Reset at the moment, so that by 2030, almost all of us, like 99.99999% of us, except for the social elites, will own nothing because all of our wealth has been stolen away from us, and be happy. So you won't have a car? No, you won't have a house because they will just increase interest rates so much so that everybody defaults. In Australia at the moment, there's this co-ownership scheme that they pretend to be nice to people and push out to the poor people who can't afford a house, saying that the government will pretty much buy 50% of the house with you as you invest. And guess what? Later on, they're just going to increase interest rates so you can't do the repayments even on the 50%, and then you have to give the house to them. Shocking. Right now, what we heard from Davos is the World Economic Forum is pushing facial recognition technology. Wow. And we know this has been sort of happening in different parts. I know in China, even if you cross the red light, there's this facial recognition thing to know that you're crossing the red light. And then they'll find your name and put your face on the billboard saying you cross the traffic lights when it was red, and shame on you, and then put your name up there so everybody can see you, kind of thing. So it's really kind of awkward. They're saying that they want to turn the whole world to become like this facial recognition technology. And let's look at why they say that they want to do this. They're basically saying that they want to use it as a way of compliance. They basically want people to agree with them. And right now, in the economy, in the world, there's a lot of people who disagree with what they do, and they just want to really call these people political prisoners yet, or having an opinion that's based on the truth. In an effort to remedy the scourge of malicious material, the World Economic Forum has brought together a diverse group of leaders who are well placed to exchange best practices, aka censorship, for new online safety regulation, because those things that they're saying are not safe for you. You're not allowed to make your own opinion. We just decide it's not safe for you and help millions of connected citizens improve digital media literacy. You need to know what you listen to that will make you smarter. Oh my gosh. Can you believe these diverse leaders include this one? I don't even know if I can say these things in this video without the video being red zone. They talked about a lot. They especially talk about misinformation and disinformation. It's really funny because a lot of this misinfo that they told people were misinfo recently has started to prove true. If you put things in the perspective of a long enough time frame, I believe that truth will always reveal itself God's way. Perhaps the tables will be turned. It's just like when Yeshua was before Pontius Pilate. Everyone is saying that he deserves to die. But later on, God, as a lawyer, he overturned the judgment that this person deserves to die because God said that Yeshua has done no wrong, right? So a lot of times you see the world, you have to recognize that it's been run by the principalities and the powers of the air, aka the devil and his minions and all of the people who are obeying the spirit of the air and the spirit of the age, as we were sharing yesterday. And unless you recognize that, you won't understand why these people are doing these things. They really want to push through this digital IDs to track you down and monitor your activities to the nth degree, and also put you under a system run and powered by AI that has no empathy whatsoever. You can't reason with it. It's an algorithm. It's this or that. It's 0 or 1. It's yes or no. It's you live by what we say or you die. So this, we have to be very, very wary of the things that are happening in our society. This is why we don't. This is why we hold firm and stand firm to our faith. Like Hebrews says, let's pay closely to the salvation that we've been brought to, for fear that we would drift away with the dissoluteness and the flood of the world, the trends of the world, the progression and the trajectory of the world. We need to really be firm in Yeshua and know that he's gonna come and overturn. Like, this has to happen. In fact, the Bible predicts these kind of things eventually sort of winning out in the short term, but that looks scary actually. But in the long term, we know that Yeshua is going to reign. Let us not be fearful, but let us be soberly aware of this evil that is happening right now. Looking at, they basically want to, like, if your thumbprint's not enough right now, they want all of your fingerprints, and they want to track all of that and put that into an ID. And now they even want your face, so they can track you anywhere you go and anything that you do. You know, it's not a matter of I don't have anything to hide, and therefore I'm not afraid of being tracked. But you don't understand that the day you surrender your privacy to someone else, that's the day where someone, like, eventually is going to take advantage of that and use it against you to exert power and control and limit your freedom. People don't think that freedom is a big thing, but look at how many people were committing suicide during the lockdowns. And a lot of people who are depressed, like every week we were having team meetings, and everyone on my team was so down during the lockdowns, and And people in Shanghai and Beijing who never protest because of the government that they're in, they even protested, and they were like banging pots and pans from the lockdown that is their apartment, the tiny little apartment, and they were like banging like crazy, saying, "We want food, we want freedom." And like, people don't understand that the only way you can feel like yourself is if you're free to be yourself. Like the people who are advocating, like the woke community that's like, oh, be yourself, self-love, self-care, they don't understand that the basis of that is your freedom and your privacy. To not be interfered in every little thing you do, to not have to think about every little action that you do, whether you can do it or you can't do it, and how that's going to affect your wallet. How do you feel about freedom? I would really love to hear your comments down below. And by the way, if this series of videos have actually helped you understand more things and you really value the continuation of this series, can you please like and subscribe and comment below, and really share this video with the people that you care about, because Yeshua cares for you. And I believe that this vlog is going to be of increasingly more important the further down into the future we go, and as the chaos worsens and the economy goes more and more crazy. Now stand firm in the Lord and know that the whole world, your brothers throughout there, are all suffering with you. We're all in this together. God bless.